Thank you for staying with us. Krissy Gibson from Take the Cake joins us, and you know what that means. We're about to get a sugar fix. Good morning, Krissy.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Thank you, and I did bring the sugar today.
You certainly did. I've got a heap of it in front of me here.
We are making a cream cheese pound cake.
Oh, yes, right.
You guys know this as Madeira cake. On the other side of the ocean, they would call that type of cake a pound cake.
Okay.
There's really not much difference. Maybe a bit more flour in a Madeira cake.
Okay.
But yeah, it is a nice sponge. It's a nice alternative to a Victoria sponge. Do you know what's great about this is we use cream cheese in it, obviously, and it gives it a wonderful, a light sort of flavor and texture. So we're going to start with about 335 grams of salted room temperature butter. That's about 3/4 of a pound. And it's important that all of the ingredients we use today are room temperature.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to add to that 230 grams of room temperature cream cheese. We want to use full fat cream cheese. Don't go for the diet stuff.
Yeah, we're going all in here.
We are.
Yeah, may as well.
Go big or go home.
It's Sunday.
So we're going to mix these two room temperature ingredients together, and it's going to be nice and smooth and creamy. We're going to add to that gradually 690 grams. I know.
Holy moly.
You could go as low as maybe 670, but if you go lower than that, it's going to affect the texture of the cake.
Okay.
So, you know, up to 200 grams, but certainly no less than 670. So granulated sugar or caster sugar, doesn't matter. I'm doing this in stages. I'm adding a little bit at a time.
Because if you chuck it all in at one time, it's not going to mix, is it?
Yeah, you know, you'll notice that this is going to get a little bit fluffier with each go. Now, if you have a stand-up mixer at home, those are fine to use as well. I would say, yeah, everybody's usually got 2 attachments with their stand-up mixer.
Yeah.
If you do use a stand-up mixer, that's great. I would suggest using the whisk attachment for that.
As opposed to the paddle kind of one.
Exactly, because the paddle won't give you as fluffy a result. We're really going after a smooth and fluffy batter. So now we have our cream cheese, our sugar, and our butter, our salted butter. To that, we're going to add sort of a lot of vanilla extract. I don't use essence, I use vanilla extract. It's a stronger, purer flavor.
And you normally just use a little half a teaspoon or something, if even.
This is a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
I just kind of poured it in. It was 20 mils.
Wow, okay.
So that's more like 4 teaspoons.
Right.
5 mils is about a teaspoon.
Yeah,
We're using loads.
Okay.
And then this is 6 eggs. I'm using pasteurized eggs today, so they're liquid. But you're going to use 6 eggs, and these, again, room temperature. I want to make sure these don't splatter everywhere.
Okay.
So now we're going to mix these all together. And we're going to be adding flour to this. We're using self-raising flour. And the flour, I'm also going to add just a bit at a time. Altogether, we're using 450 grams.
Okay.
Now, once we have our batter all mixed in together and it's nicely incorporated, what we have is a smooth and fluffy batter. We're going to put our batter into, there's actually a few different kinds of pans you can use. What I have here today is a bundt pan, right? What I've done is I've greased it and I've floured it, which is really common for any kind of cake. But you could also use a loaf pan. Now, if you do use one of these yolks, you're going to get 4 loaves.
Oh, really? Okay.
So if you don't have a larger pan like that, just use a loaf pan. Just be aware that you're going to get a few.
So this quantity, it will serve you well. It'll go a long way.
Yeah, it does. And today, in fact, for that bundt pan, I might have some extra batter. And if I do, I'm just gonna make a loaf on the side.
And do you need to grease and flour the Pyrex dish as well?
Yes, you do. I'm not going to do it today, but I just wanted to show you. If you do have a loaf pan, you can
get 4.
Yeah, you'll get 4. Now you can use a springform pan if you have one of those. Okay. And you can also just use a casserole dish. So if you have a 9x13 pan that you like to do your lasagnas in, just use that. This is a great cake for...
You can cut it into squares and serve them like brownies almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great way to serve this cake, and this works really well as strawberry shortcake. So when I do these in one of those baking pans, a 9x13, that's how I like to serve my strawberry shortcake.
So the main difference between this and our, as you say, Madeira sponge is the cream cheese.
Not necessarily. Not all pound cakes have a cream cheese.
Ah, okay.
So the special thing about this particular pound cake is the cream cheese.
Okay.
I think that if there's a difference between pound cake and Madeira cake, do you know what it is? I think a Madeira might just have a bit more flour because it's a slightly denser texture.
Yeah.
You will find a pound cake is more spongy, like a Victoria sponge.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, we have our
springs.
batter now. So I'm going to fill up my bundt pan, and we might notice that I've got more batter than I need.
That's okay.
So yeah, I'm just going to lay this down. So if that happens, I can just make an extra loaf layer later.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay? So here we go. We're going to fill this up, and this does rise. It doesn't rise a huge amount.
But you don't want to fill this to the top, this bun.
That's exactly right. So fill it about maybe halfway. At the most, fill it about 3/4, but you don't really have to worry too much about this going all over your oven because it doesn't rise a whole terribly lot.
Even though we use self-rising flour.
Even though.
Okay.
Okay, so here we've got our bundt pan filled, and I think I've got just about the right amount in here. So I'm making a bit of a mess, but you get the idea. Here we go. I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit because once this comes out of the oven, we're going to tip it upside down, and we want the top to be as flat as it can be. We're going to put this into the oven at 150.
Oh, nice and low, right.
Yeah, it's not too high. And if you have a fan oven, that's perfect. This is going to bake for about an hour and 15 minutes. But take it out of the oven and test it after 1 hour. Okay? After 1 hour, you might find it's good and done. Everybody's ovens are kind of different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
My oven at the bakery runs a little bit hot.
Of course.
So.
And when you say test it, does that just pop a skewer into the middle?
So what I mean is, you take a toothpick.
Okay.
So here we go. I have a toothpick, and do you see how any Madeira or cake or pound cake will have a nice crack on the top? Do you see how that's cracked?
Gorgeous.
Now, I'm just going to take my toothpick right into the center, not the sides,
So
the
the
center.
thickest part of it.
And if it comes out dry, you're golden.
Okay, so there's a little bit of liquid still on that, back into the oven for a few minutes.
Exactamundo.
Okay.
Now, if you've got a big pan, you might need another 10 minutes.
Okay.
If it's almost there, just give it another 3 or 5 minutes.
Okay, and then serving suggestions. Look at this.
This is a simple cake like a Victoria sponge is. So you want a bit of flavor. Fresh berries, raspberries are great now.
Well, you know me
Fresh
and berries,
cream.
I can't get enough of them.
Oh, Simon. Well, I did give you some chocolate shavings there,
yeah,
so
you
hopefully
did.
that'll do you.
Can I tuck in and have a
Please
little taste?
do, and let me know what you think.
I'm interested to see the texture of it.
You will find it's similar to a Madeira.
And we have another slice beside me here. Elaine, would you like to have a little bit of cake?
How about a taste?
Come on in.
Am I not sweet enough? No.
Come on, come on.
Am I not sweet enough?
There's only nearly
This
a pound of
looks
sugar
delicious,
in this, doesn't it?
delicious. Thank you so much for making that specially for me on a Sunday.
You are so welcome.
Everyone needs a treat. What's like?
That's right. That's right.
No.
It's got a nice crust on it, doesn't it? You can kind of see that on this one over
I
here.
just need a minute.
It's quite sugary.
It is a sweet cake.
That'll be the 670 grams of sugar.
Yeah,
170 grams of sugar.
you'll be
No,
fine.
actually, I used 690.
Oh,
Oh,
righty, oh.
670.
If
Yeah.
you are going to reduce it, don't go lower than 670.
Go big
But
or go home.
You taste the sweetness of that
That's
cake
gorgeous.
on the crust.
And I love the
Very
texture
much
of
so.
it.
It's almost
too.
caramelised a little bit.
Another winner of a recipe. The full recipe details are, of course, up on our website. Or you can check out Krissy's wares at takethecake.ie, and I recommend you do so.
Now, coming up, actor and writer Claire Dunn opens up about the real-life events that inspired her new movie. Stay with us.